Hello, welcome to Coding Class with MasterHun. Today, I am going to redo my intro to OOP, Object-Oriented Programming, Part 1. If you are already on sololearn.com, then this will be quite familiar. If you're not, please do check out sololearn.com. It is free. It does require registration, but it is free. It is available on Android, iOS, and on the web. I am not sponsored by sololearn.com. This is actually, I'm a pro member. Actually, I give my money too. So I have given my money to sololearn.com for a 1-year subscription, which doesn't really give you that many more benefits than if you just register for free. But anyway, okay, so let's get to OOP, Object-Oriented Programming in Python 3. I'm showing you that the code it's code that I've taken from the Python sololearn.com's Python 3 tutorial in the object-oriented programming section, and then the subsection would be classes. So OOP, object-oriented programming, is the current paradigm that's used in coding design and implementation. So what is OOP? Object-oriented programming is focused on objects, as opposed to what I learned in the 90s when I studied computer science. I learned functional programming, and obviously functional programming was all about functions. But OOP, now today it's OOP, object-oriented programming, so it's all about objects. So these objects have attributes, or you could think of them as variables, and methods, which you can think of as functions. But the attributes and the methods, or the variables or functions, are now closely tied with objects. And instead of being separate entities, they are actually tied together. But anyway, so in the sololearn.com Python 3 tutorial, they use this in their classes subsection. They use this cat class. So if you can see in line number 8, there's this cat class. So the keyword, in order to create a class in Python, you need to use the class keyword. If you look at here at line number 8, there you see first the class keyword. Then we have the name of the class, which typically starts with a capital letter, cat. And then, of course, we have the colon. And then what is this funny underscore init underscore? What is that all about, right? That is what we would call the constructor. In other coding languages, it would be called a constructor, but in Python, it's the init method. So what does this init method do? It's a constructor. It builds the objects. So that might be confusing to you, like what does this underscore init underscore or the init method, what is this all about? It's a constructor. Now the next thing that might not make any sense to you is, what is this self? Is it talking about, what is the self? What is this self all about? The self is in reference to the object. Not the class, but the object. So when you see self, think of object. It's a reference to the current object. So what is this init method doing? It's creating an object. Now, in this init method, there are two attributes, color and legs. So, of course, cats have more attributes than just color and legs. But in this simplified example, we have a constructor that creates an object, a cat object, and the cat will have two attributes, color and legs. Okay, so again, we have, in order to create a class in Python, we need to use the class keyword. And then we have to have a name of the class. And the name of the class will normally start with a capital letter. Then we have the colon. Then we have the init method. Of course, we have to use the def keyword to create the init method, which is a function, which is the constructor for the class. And you will typically use this self parameter, to refer to the object, the current object. Keep in mind that the self parameter is not very special. You could actually replace self with something else, but then you have to be consistent in referring to whatever placeholder name that you decide to use, a placeholder or identifier that you decide to use. Now, how do we create objects? Okay, so lines 8 to 11 define the class. It tells us what is the class. Lines 12, 13, and 14 are the lines of code where you actually create an object. So if we look at line 12, we have Felix the cat. So we have to have the name of the object. Then we have the assignment operator, the equal sign, and then we have the name of the class, which also is the name of the constructor. The name of the constructor and the name of the class are the same, and they both start with a capital letter. Now, when we construct Felix the cat, we're going to give it a color, ginger, and the number of legs, 4. So again, lines 8 to 11 define the class, the cat class, which only has two attributes, color and legs. And line 12, 13, and 14, those are the lines where we create the cat object. Felix the cat, Rover the cat, and Stumpy the cat. Again, to create the object, we need to give the object a name. Then we have the assignment operator, the equal sign. And then we have the constructor. And the name of the constructor is the same name as the name of the class, cat. And then in this cat, we need to tell it, to create the cat, we need to tell it the color of the cat and the number of legs that it has. So this is a pattern that you're going to see over and over again in Python when you are doing object-oriented programming. You create classes, and then we need to, this is a fancy word that we use in OOP, instantiate. We need to instantiate classes. Objects are an instance of a class, so you need to know how to instantiate objects. Because the objects are the workhorses. They're the actual things that do things in your code. The class does not do anything. It's a blueprint or a factory. You need to have objects to do the actual work. Now I'm going to run the code, and we will see what prints, displays, or outputs when we print. When we print the object. And also, if we look at line 17, we'll see that in order to access the values of Felix's color and legs, we need to use this dot notation. So we have the name of the object, Felix, and then we have this dot, and then the attribute that we're trying to access. And so you'll see this over and over again. Object name dot, and then attribute name. Object name dot attribute name. And then we see the same thing for Rover and Stumpy. Okay, so I'm going to run this code. And what do we see here in the output? Okay, in the output we see that we see the cat object, and then we see the memory address for it. For Felix, we see that Felix has color ginger and has 4 legs. And then we see Rover, the cat object, and Stumpy, the cat, the object. Okay. Okay, now let's go to the first question. Question 1 out of 4. If you've already taken the Python 3 tutorial in sololearn.com, then you will probably be already familiar with these questions, because that's where I got the questions from. Okay. What type of object is a method? What type of object is a method? Is it an integer? Is it a class? Is it a function? Okay. What type of object is a method? Okay. Okay, so I think we've already covered this. The init method is the most important method in a class. True, because without it, you can't create any objects. And if you can't create any objects, then you're not going to get any work done. Okay, so again, just to review, we have the cat class. It has 2 attributes, color and legs. In order to create an object, you have to declare the object name. Then we have the assignment operator, and then we have the name of the class, which is also the name of the constructor. And then we have the parentheses, and inside the parentheses, we have the values we want to give this object. In this case, Felix the cat. The object will have 2 values. We're going to set it 2 values. For the color will be set to ginger, which is a string, and the legs will be set to the integer 4. Now, if we want to print the color, Felix's color, then we have to use that dot notation. We have to state the object name, then we have the dot, and then we have the attribute name. In this case, it's Felix.color, and then the output would be ginger, because that is the color of Felix the cat. I'll run the code again, and look at the output again, and there we see it. We see ginger. Okay? Ginger. Okay, now we have question 2 of 4, which again you would may recognize if you've already done the Python 3 tutorial of sololearn.com. Okay, what is the second question of 4 out of 4? Fill in the blanks to create a class and its constructor, taking one argument and assigning it to the name attribute. Again, attribute you could think of as a variable. Then create an object of the class. Okay, so we have a blank, and then we have student. What do we need in front of student? And then we have colon, and then under that, line 57, we have def, and then, no, that's not a blank, that's the underscore. That's a little confusing, right? Def, underscore, underscore, init, underscore, underscore. Okay, the init method. And then again, we have self, and then self, again, that refers to the current object. And then we have this name attribute, or in this case, the name parameter, right? And then we have self blank. What do we need in this blank? Self blank, what do we need there? Okay. And then we have the assignment operator, and then the name parameter. Okay, and then on line 59, that's when we actually create the object of the class. We instantiate the class. Test is the name of the object. Then we have the assignment operator, and then we have the constructor, which is the same name as the class student with a capital S. And then we have the name of the student, Bob. And then we have a blank. What do we need there? Okay, so we have 3 blanks. Blank student, what do we need in front of student?